Good afternoon and welcome back to Frisco Sports Network. I'm your host Anna Knight and I'm joined with three other guests today actually. I'm with Wesley Broder, Siddhartha Manabothu, and my fellow friend Addie Schick. And tonight we are just going to talk about what's happening right now. We're preview to playoffs. You know, this is a big game that we're doing here tonight. And, you know, as we get into tonight, the playoff picture is kind of looking a little bit crazy. And this game will really determine who gets the number one seed. Wesley, you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, Anna, this game has huge implications, especially for playoffs. We have both the number one and the number two team in the 5-5A district going against each other tonight. We got Lone Star and we got Reedy. If we take a look at our notable game information for this matchup, the winner of this game, as I've said, will be number one in the 5-5A standings. Currently, there is a three-way tie for second with a Reedy win and a McKinney North win. Number two, Lone Star, and number three, Wakeland, and number four, McKinney North. Lone Star and McKinney North loss would mean Wakeland would take the number 2 seed, Lone Star would go to number 3, and McKinney North would take the number 4 seed. Lone Star and McKinney North win. Number 1, Lone Star, Reedy would be number 2, McKinney North would be number 3, and Wakeland would take the number 4 seed.
Yeah, I mean, just so many different opportunities for different teams. Just really depends on this game tonight. And I know both teams are really itching for the win and want to be first.
Well, the winner of this game, will certainly have a great reward, but one thing that's going under the table is Wakeland. I mean, a couple weeks ago, their season might have been over, right? They had a big 35-0 loss to Reedy. Their offense and defense looked lackluster, right? But they've been reeling off wins, extremely close wins, but, a W is a W,
yeah. And
now they can be anywhere from the number 2 to the number 4 seed. I mean, they might be number 2 in this district, and with how their season gone, I think that's an absolutely crazy finish that could potentially end up happening.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sid. Just so many different things. Next up, we're going to look at the other 5A district, which is known as the District of Doom. Sid, can you help us take a look at that?
Well, the District of Doom, one of the best in the state, right? Anna, right? 4A state champion Emerson, the state semifinalist Lovejoy, and Melissa both went very deep into the playoffs last year, right? So many great teams. And it's unfortunate that one of them is going to have to be left out. Addie, take us through this 4-5-8 standings as they stand right now.
Yeah, for sure. So as they stand right now, we have Walnut Grove, top dog. I mean, it's their first season as a varsity team, so that's pretty impressive for them. Next up, we have Lovejoy, same record, 6-1. And then Anna and Emerson. I mean, that was kind of unexpected. I know a lot of people had Melissa up there and advancing to playoffs, but no, Emerson snagged it with that. Walnut Grove is first with a win last week, and there's a three-way tie for first with Anna win, Walnut Grove, and Lovejoy loss. Looking over at the other district, 3-5A, this is who those teams will be competing against. We have Argyle, undefeated, 7-0. Colleyville Heritage, at 6-1. Mansville Summit at 5-2, Mansville Timberview at 5-3. Now there's a three-way tie for third with an Anna loss and Melissa win, and Melissa would still be out.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, Melissa is going to be left out of the playoffs. This is certainly a disappointing season for them. I mean, lots of high hopes coming into the season. They performed well early in the year, but they're just left out. And when you have such great teams, it's always such a shame, because I think you put Melissa in any other district around the state, they're number one, right?
Yeah.
But because of this district, because of the teams that are also here, Melissa, they're unlucky. They're going to be watching from their couch this time around.
Yeah. Along with those Frisco teams, we're also going to take a look at the 4A playoff picture. And last Friday, we hosted Panther Creek versus Aubrey, which is a thriller in overtime. So, Addie, could you go ahead and tell us about those playoffs?
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, that was a really big game last week. Pretty exciting. Went into overtime, and Panther Creek actually won, and that puts them at the second place seed heading into playoff. But on top, Salina undefeated. I mean, not surprising, 5-0 currently. Like I said, Panther Creek record 4-1. And then third, we have Sulphur Springs with also a record of 4-1, and Aubrey with a record of 3-3. Now, Salina clinches that number one playoff seed with a win, but however, the winner of the Panther Creek versus Sulphur Spring game, that is for our second and third place standing. So that should be an interesting game going on. But Aubrey is locked with number 4. Yeah.
So Panther Creek, Sulphur Springs, that's the game we're going to break down a bit later. But, this district is mostly set, right? We've been seeing a lot of changes over the past few weeks in all 3 districts, but 7-4A, as it stands right now, is only set. There are only 2 spots that will probably swap that have the potential. That's number 2 and 3 with Panther Creek and Sulphur Springs potentially switching after their game today. But Salina, once again, looking like the top dogs, not only in this district, but in this region. I mean, if you think about the teams in 4A, Salina, Stephenville, out of all these teams, I mean, I think that this is one of the deepest districts in the state.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sid. I mean, Salina has just been a super competitive team for these past few years, and just seeing them and, hosting them because of Panther Creek, it's just been a great season to watch them, grow and play competitively. Wesley, what do you think about these 4A standings?
I mean, it's a lot of what we expected, except for the fact that we thought Panther Creek was going to come out a little bit stronger, especially in that Panther Creek-Salina game. It really felt like an upset to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Salina, when they played Gunther, they got a flyover, and if you're going to be a good team, you got to have a flyover.
Yeah.
So that just shows why they're taking that number 1 seed.
Totally agree.
And Addie, these 4A schools, they're going to be matched up with District 8 4A in the bi-district round. Take a quick recap of those standings right there.
Yeah, for sure. So the 8 4A district, actually, they don't have a lot set. They only have their 1st and 2nd seed set currently, which is Kimball. That's the 1st seed, 6-0, and then 2nd seed would be Carter, 5-1. Now, there are currently 4 teams with a record of 3-3. We have Wilmer Hutchins, Lincoln, North Dallas, and Pinkston. So there's still a lot going on there, and so we'll have some interesting matchups undecided right now currently.
And as you mentioned it, 4 teams tied at 3-3, right? And when you have 4 teams, these tiebreakers rules get really interesting. I got a chance to take a look at some of that earlier this week, right? What they do is they basically take those 4 teams and they put them into a mini district where once again, you look at head-to-head, points allowed. So tiebreakers are really complicated in this one district where, it might matter more than the rest.
Yeah, especially in 4A where you don't play as many games as that 5A district. It's a lot harder to get that playoff seeding, especially when there's as many ties as this.
Yeah, and for this Salina district, I mean, not to be rude or anything, but I feel like this district doesn't really prepare them for playoffs. I mean, not much competitiveness other than Panther Creek and Aubrey. I mean, it's just going to be, I feel like I'm excited to see how they're going to handle playoffs this season.
I think that's certainly a good take. I mean, we did have some teams ranked in the top 5 in the Dallas Morning News. I mean, Harris, Panther Creek, Salina, Sulphur Springs, Lake Dallas, all those teams spent time in the top 5, but 4A is very deep, and these teams, they might not match up as well versus their first-round playoff opponents as they might like.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Sid. Thank you, guys, and we're just going to take a quick break real quick. We'll be back with y'all in a few minutes.
Anderson tips out of bounds. Miller gets it back. Miller, wild shot. It's good. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Caleb Miller. Oh my goodness. Caleb Miller with a sensational shot to give the Coyotes the district title.
What's going on, FIT sports fans? I'm Jackson Bearwick, former Frisco Raccoon and current Sherman Shadowcats broadcaster. If you're interested in joining the Frisco Sports Network, click the link in our bio on Instagram or X at Frisco_SB. Make sure to keep up with all your favorite teams live on FriscoSportsLive.com, powered by NBC Sports Engine.
At EECU, we know banking can seem overwhelming. That's why we built a better way of banking. It starts with no-fee checking accounts that you can open here or anywhere in 5 minutes or less. Contactless debit MasterCards so you can tap and go. Timely alerts to keep you in the know. 85,000 free ATMs to make sure you're covered. And whether you visit, call, or text, you're not just talking to a helpful advisor. You're talking to a neighbor. Now that's a better way of banking.
Good afternoon and welcome back to this game tonight. We are currently 36 minutes away from kickoff and just have more information to share with you guys. So as we take a look at these other few games that are going on in the district tonight, we are going to first look at Frisco and McKinney North. And first, we're going to look at the Frisco and take a little deep dive on how their season has been and what they have been doing this season. Wesley, you want to tell me about that?
I mean, yeah, Frisco, bit of a surprise to some people. The way some of the games they've been close in and some of the games they've won have actually been quite upset in some way. But like they've been really improving as the season's gone on. Coben Harbert has been really showing off as a quarterback as someone who can not only play the ball in the air, but he can also play the ground game.
Yeah,
Because Frisco lost to Reedy last week, they are eliminated from the playoffs, right? But for a lot of guys, this is their last game in their high school career. They're certainly going to want to ball out, right? And also, Frisco has a chance to play spoiler to McKinney North, knock them down to number 4 with the win tonight. But as you mentioned, Wesley, I think this is a really close season, right? Frisco, just a lot of close games, right? 27-26 over Heritage. They also lost 27-24 to Wakeland. That was an upset that a lot of people didn't really see coming. But I feel like this season for Frisco is just all about those close games, right? In a district that's this close, 1 or 2 games certainly has the ability to change everything, right? Let's take a look at our Frisco schedule, right? Some of the stuff we've been talking about. A lot of these close games have big impacts. Tell us about this Frisco schedule.
Yeah, Sid. So they started off their non-district matchups when they went out to Little Elm with a 32-7 win. They went up against a District of Doom opponent against Melissa, showing why we thought Melissa was really going to take charge of that district when they lost 52-13. Against Centennial, they lost 26-21. Against Heritage, they won 27-26, 1-point matchup. Against Lone Star, like we were saying, those close games against top opponents, 27-24, close games, still couldn't come out on top. In Sherman, they won 45-7 over the Bearcats. Against Wakeland, lost another 1-point game, 21-20. LT, 21-9 win. Reedy lost 27-17, and they will, like you said, try and play spoiler for McKinney North when they go up against them at Ron Poe Stadium tonight.
Yeah, I mean, really what Frisco needs tonight is for their junior quarterback to come out strong. Coben Harbert, I mean, he's kind of been up and down this season. So do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Well, Coben Harbert, right, coming into the season, he was one of the quarterbacks that we had high on our list. I know I had him ranked as potentially the best returning quarterback in Frisco, right? But I feel like this season is really shown where he is as a quarterback, right? Big arm, big frame, but he's also unpredictable, right? He has 18 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, right? And versus Reedy, I believe he had 5 interceptions or something, or 3 interceptions, excuse me, in that game. But, you know, his interceptions have been costly at times for the Raccoons. But he also has a big arm, right? 19 for almost 200 completions. So Frisco is a pass-heavy offense. They got guys like Sawyer Borgarello, Jackson Voris. So you see Coben Harbert throwing the ball a lot, but, you know, not always accurate, right? His completion percentage is a bit under 40%. He is a big arm, big talent, but I think next year, if Frisco wants to go higher, they're going to need him to fix his mistakes, you know, fix the bad decisions.
Yeah, I agree, Sid. And against this McKinney North defense, I mean, it's going to be pretty hard. McKinney North has been such a competitive team this season, really, you know, kind of impressed us. And as we take a deeper dive into that team as well, Sid, you want to tell us some more about that?
Sure, and at McKinney North, right, this is a team that got moved into District 5-5A the last realignment cycle. You know, they were driving 2 or 3 hours to play their opponents. Now they just drive around 30 minutes, come play at the Star. Beautiful stadium here. McKinney North, 5-2 in district play. It's still a bit in flux about their position. They could end up at either number 3 or number 4. McKinney North this year, one name for you guys, Greg Ard. You know, he's their main running back. He's their main man. We'll get to him later. But this is a run-focused team. I mean, they have the offensive firepower, right? Guys like Orlandis Nelson, Greg Ard. They also have Cameron Powell, the 3-star Oklahoma State commit, but he hasn't had much action because McKinney North just loves running the ball. They have two running backs, I like to call them the Hammer and the Flash, right? One of them is a nice patient runner, that's Greg Ard. He's sitting in the pocket dancing around. He reminds me of someone like Le'Veon Bell. Their other running back is Orlandis Nelson. This guy brings the boom, as Big AJ would say.
Yeah, and as we take a look at their schedule, Wesley, how are the wins and losses looking?
Yeah, so they went off to a tough start in non-district in their first game of district play, going off on an 0-3 start against Wiley East, Northwest, and Lone Star, respectively. They got their first win against Sherman in a 58-17 blowout. They went on to go against Wakeland, defeating them 35-24. Went up against the Trailblazers, put up 70, winning 70-35. Against Reedy, they took the L 38-13. Against Centennial, a 52-21 win. Heritage, 38-31 win. And tonight, they will go up against Frisco Raccoons.
And yeah, I think the biggest thing that McKinney North's offense could do is use what you said Greg R. for, just to complete this team. Could you tell us a little bit about him?
And as I mentioned, I like to call him the Flash. He's so fast and he's just so patient too. What I like about him is just the way he plays, right? When he's in the backfield, you see him patient, right? He's waiting. When he sees his chance, he doesn't wait. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's extremely explosive, right? 164 carries for 1,439 yards. He's under consideration for being the Mr. Texas on the All-Star team. He's under consideration for running back there. And it's easy to see why, right? 8.77 yards per carry. He's a fast guy. He's explosive. He has 19 touchdowns. And if he gets the ball in his hands, if McKinney North feeds him the ball, I think Frisco's going to have a tough time stopping him, especially with how the run defense has looked sometimes in the season. It's been a bit iffy. I think McKinney North, if they want to win tonight, they're going to want to put the ball in Greg Ard's hands.
Yeah, totally. So this is going to be a good game that y'all are definitely going to want to see tonight. Just for Frisco kind of to get their last game of the season, play as hard as they can. And as we take a look at another game that is going on tonight, tomorrow night, we're going to take a look at Panther Creek and Sulphur Springs, which is the fight for the second and third spot for playoffs in the 4A side. Sid, you want to kind of give us a deep dive of Panther Creek?
Sure, and Panther Creek, what a program, what a season, right? The amount of talent on this team is staggering. Jalen Lott, Donovan Webb, Braylon Fry, Central Simpson. These are just names that are off the top of my mind. I know, Addie, you got a chance to watch them last week versus Aubrey. What did you think about this team?
I thought that team looked phenomenal against Aubrey. It got a little close there at the end, but they made sure to pull it out and get that win done and get the job done.
Yeah, like you said, overtime thriller, like I said earlier. That game was just really impressive for Panther Creek. They were, trailing early at that game. I had a chance to be on the sideline as well. And just to see them, pull through and, want to win that game to fight for the second and third spot has been pretty amazing for them. And as we take a look at kind of their schedule and their players, one of their key components for this team is their quarterback, Braylon Fry. And we're going to take a look at their schedule as well as we get to Braylon Fry a little later tonight. Addie, you want to tell us about their schedule?
Yeah, sure. So first off, they started their preseason against Lake Worth and Carter, both with big wins, 55-10. That's a blowout. And then 48-13. Sets you up pretty confident going into more district games. Then they took on Southwest with another blowout. Blowout after blowout, guys. We have 44-7 against Southwest, and then Kennedale 42-3. But then big name Salina. No one can seem to beat them. That's when they took their first and only loss currently, 42-7. Then they took on Paris, 38-35, close game, and then Community, 66-0, blowout. We've seen a lot of blowouts out of this Panther Creek team, pretty explosive. But then Lake Dallas, they took them to overtime. I don't think anyone was expecting that win there. 46-44, and then last week, what we were talking about, nice little overtime game that we all got to experience here, 41-40. That was crazy. Really thought Aubrey was going to take that one for a second. And then tonight, they will be taking on Sulphur Springs, and like Anna mentioned earlier, for that third and second seed standing.
And I think Panther Creek, Anna, you mentioned this before, they didn't have the toughest district schedule. A couple of these games were easy wins. But at the end of the season, we saw that Lake Dallas game, Aubrey tonight, Sulphur Springs. So I think this Panther Creek squad is coming together. They're getting hot at the right time. This is what they did last year. And, we saw a deep run into the playoffs last year, into the third round, I believe. And with the way the Panthers are looking right now, I think they're bound to repeat.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sid. I mean, they have, made their mark on this season, just kind of made these, not really upsets, but, just finished late in the games, like had been trailing earlier, but finished late and, just pushed through till the end of the season. And one of those key components for their team is actually their quarterback transfer, if I'm mistaken, transferred in this year, and he has just made a different, environment for that Panther Creek team. Sid, do you have more to say about him?
Yeah, Graylin Fry, he moved in from Braswell, right? And he's certainly a big arm, right? I think he's the basis behind this Panther Creek team. He has so much skill and so much potential. Big arm. Wesley, tell us about this man right there.
I mean, Graylin Fry, he's just an excellent athlete. The way he's able to find those guys deep in the field. He's got great yards. He's got a great eyes. And when he needs to, he'll take that ball on the ground. He's an excellent quarterback. I mean, and you mentioned transfer quarterback. You know who else was a transfer quarterback for one of our newer Frisco schools? Michael Hawkins Jr. Just the amount of talent that these new Frisco schools are getting is immaculate. And the fact that Panther Creek was able to get an excellent quarterback like Graylin Fry just really shows how much these Panthers are going to try and get a state title.
Well, if, as you mentioned, Michael Hawkins, if Graylin Fry turns out anything like Michael Hawkins, I'm sure he will certainly be more than delighted, right? We saw how Michael Hawkins' high school and college career went, so I'm sure Graylin Fry will be thrilled if he gets anything even close to that. And, it's kind of a big surprise to me, Wesley, how this man does not have offers from more programs. I mean, he plays at a big-name school, right? Panther Creek is on the map in terms of recruiting. If I were any college in the nation, I'd be jumping to offer this guy, right? If you offer him first, that might get you some extra loyalty. If I were any coach in the country, I think any program could certainly use his help.
I mean, absolutely, Sid. But the best part about Graylin Fry is this is only his junior year. He still has one more year to show and prove all those doubters wrong and get as many offers as he can because, as you said, he will be a key piece to any team that gives him an offer.
Yeah, totally, guys. Like, I could not speak more highly about Panther Creek. I think they're just a very great team, a great program. And as we've spoken a lot about Panther Creek, we're actually going to take a deep dive into their opponent tomorrow night, which is Sulphur Springs. And so, Sid, do you want to tell us a little bit about Sulphur Springs and their season?
Sulphur Springs is a historic program who's been on the up. In 2021, they went 0-10, but back-to-back seasons, they've had 7 wins, right? 7-4 in 2022, 7-3 in 2023, right? They have one state title in one appearance in school history, 31 playoff appearances, right? So this is a historic program, and they're looking to get back to, get back into the playoffs, which they probably will end up doing this year. I expect them to make a deep run. I mean, this is a really balanced team. Lots of guys touching the ball a lot of times. Wesley, I know you sent me a video earlier this week. We saw them have a great clip, right? I believe it was a flea flicker almost. It was an interesting play which they scored for a touchdown. That went pretty viral on Instagram.
It was probably one of the most insane clips that I've ever seen, and the fact that I saw that SS logo on the scoreboard made it even better.
Yeah, as we see the SS logo on our scoreboard, Addie, you want to tell us a little bit about their season?
Yes, of course. So Sulphur Springs also had lots of wins throughout their season. Like we said, they have the same record currently as Panther Creek, but their early wins maybe not as big blowouts compared to Panther Creek. I mean, against Poteet first, they had a 68-17 win. Next up, they took on Greenville with a 41-21 win. And then Bullard with 21-7 win. Mount Pleasant, 24-14. Aubrey, this is when they started district play, they beat 35-14. And then Salina, again, guys, I mean, come on, they're just too good.
Yeah.
31-6, that loss. That is their only loss currently in their district play. And then next up, they took on Paris with a 28-14 win, and then Community with a 56-7 win, and then Lake Dallas 38-8, and then tonight Panther Creek.
Yeah, and as we talk about some of these key components for Sulphur Springs, Sid, do you want to tell us a little bit about Jackson Hare?
Jackson Hare is an athlete wearing number 7 out of Sulphur Springs, right? Big frame, 6 foot 180, and he's really the do-it-all guy for Sulphur Springs, right? In some of these smaller programs, you see guys, playing quarterback, playing receiver, and running back. This guy does it all, right? 101 carries for 687 yards on the ground, 34 receptions for 396 yards through the air, 10 rushing touchdowns, and 4 receiving touchdowns. Wesley, when you see his film, what do you think of this man?
I mean, he has got speed. I mean, look at him. He's able to find those gaps. He's able to run around those defenders. I want to know what his 40 time is, Sid.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, in these high school moments for these running backs, I feel like this is their main time to, score those touchdowns, kind of just run through the defense and, score those points because they are just such competitive players in what to score and get down the field. And that's going to wrap up our game recaps. We are going to take a look at some of our pick'ems for tonight. So first we are going to look at the Frisco versus McKinney North game. Addie, who do you have for that game tonight?
I'm going to have to go with McKinney North. And I say that, we talked about him earlier, Greg Ard. He's outstanding, and that running back, man, he will carry them to that win.
Ooh, Addie, I don't know about that one. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I'm taking Frisco, right? I think that Coben Harbert, he's his revenge tour. He's going to pop out. He's going to have a big game. Frisco is going to be playing spoiler in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I think that, McKinney North's last game of the season, one of McKinney North's, this could, give them the morale that they need to go into playoffs and, be that 4th seed. And I'm going to have to take McKinney North tonight.
Sid, I love you like a brother, buddy, but I'm going to have to go with the girls here. I mean, McKinney North, I feel like they're the little brother of McKinney. They're trying to show why they can be a 6A team like the rest of them. We saw the McKinney High versus McKinney Boyd game. Boyd got demolished by High. North wants to show why they can be up with the big boys.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is going to be a super competitive game tonight. And, Frisco's just going to come out hot, trying to win their last game of the season and show that they want to come back for next year. And now we are going to pick our picks for the Panther Creek and Sulphur Springs game, which this is going to be a fun game to choose. Addie, who do you have?
I'm going to have to go with Panther Creek. After seeing them last week, we saw them come out, show out, and I think they're kind of going to ride that high that they got after that win, kind of bring that energy and momentum into this game tomorrow.
I was the only one on the last one. I'm glad this pick, I have a companion. I have someone who agrees with me. I'm also going to take Panther Creek, right? Braylon Fry, we talked about him earlier. I think his big arm is going to get the Panthers a big win to lock up that home playoff game, that number 2 seed in District 7-4A.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. Like Addie said, riding off that high from last week, an overtime thriller and winning that game and coming out on top after they were trailing the whole game really just gives them that morale to win this game tonight and, secure that second spot.
Wow, I'm the only one. All right, I'm taking Sulphur Springs tonight. The way they've played against the way Panther Creek has played against, they've gone in 2 straight overtime games. It feels like they haven't been able to get the job done. Sulphur Springs, they have been able to make their wins in regulation. They've been able to get the job done on offense and defense. They've made the big stops. They've made the big plays. I'm going with the Wildcats.
Yeah, that's great picks, guys. All right.
Well, I guess, we're going to have to come back at halftime, see how we're doing. I think me and Wesley, we're lone wolves on there. We'll have to see if we're accurate. I'm watching you guys too, I felt that there on the McKinney North pick. You guys left me to dry, but, I think I'm going to be correct on that one.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with y'all in a few.
Hey Frisco ISD football fans, the Frisco Education Foundation wishes you all a successful season. Help us score touchdowns all year long by making a donation today to the Frisco Education Foundation. Every gift you make will help elevate teachers and students to success. Have a great season.
and welcome back to Frisco Sports Network. As you see, it's a big senior night here tonight for Reedy Lions, and Reedy's going to take on Lone Star in just a few minutes, and we're going to take a look at Lone Star's defense right now. Sid, you want to fill us in on some of their players?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at some of our players of the week from Week 10. These are some guys who had some big games, big performances. First up, Lone Star wide receiver Bryson Jones, right? If you wear number 4, right, if you're a wide receiver wearing single digits, you got to be good, and Bryson Jones certainly is that, right? This guy does it all for Lone Star, and Lone Star has so many weapons. I think he's sort of overlooked, right? So many guys that you really don't know who's getting the ball. So sometimes stats are a bit diminished, but last week versus Lebanon Trail, Bryson Jones had himself a ball game. 6 receptions, 162 yards. That's 27 yards per reception for those of you doing the math at home. He also had 4 touchdowns, right? I'm pretty sure Lone Star dropped 60-something points, and most of it came from Bryson Jones. He's committed to Texas Tech, and it's certainly easy to see why they want him.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sid. I mean, he's just had an amazing season this year and really shown that he's ready for that collegiate league and just is ready to go and ball out in college. And
being responsible for 24 of your team's points in a single game, that just shows how valuable you are to an offense, especially with one that is as powerful as the Lone Star Rangers.
Yeah. And you can see it on this film. He's wide open on almost every single route. He has miles of separation. He helped the Lone Star Rangers cruise to an easy victory.
Yeah, and as we talked about a little earlier in the stream, we talked about Panther Creek and their amazing comeback last week. And Panther Creek's, their special teams and defense, just played that game last week and, kind of brought them back to win that game. Sid, what did you think about that game? Because I know you were there.
Well, this is a pretty unique thing. We've never done this, but I'm making an entire unit my player of the week. Panther Creek's defense and special teams. Shout out to you guys because they showed up when it mattered. Versus Aubrey, right? This is a big game. You have to win it. And it didn't look like they were going to, right? They were down multiple scores in the first half, but second half, what a performance. I believe they only allowed a single touchdown in the first half after allowing 3 or 4 in the first, right? So they were down multiple scores, but their defense really just showed up, right? Obviously, they had that 2-point conversion with the stop. Addie, I know you were right there. We were both watching that live. What did you see on that final play from Panther Creek?
That final play, Panther Creek showed up and showed out. Their team went insane. Student section, they were so hyped for that win. They wanted it so bad, and they came out there and they did it.
And, this isn't a unit that usually gets recognition, but shout out to Panther Creek's special team. They forced 2 missed field goals, and that was, a big factor because the margin of victory in this game was a single point, right? Earlier in the game, Aubrey missed an extra point. So, just so many people doing so many performances, just small things that add up and got Panther Creek that victory.
Yeah, and as we, keep going on the topic of, last week in Week 10, we are going to take a look at the McKinney North versus Heritage game and, kind of what was going on with that game. Sid, can you give us a game recap?
Coming into this game, McKinney North was favored, right? Multiple people picked them, including some of us on this desk here. But Heritage, they decided to show up and show out, right? They started off with 2 onside kicks, taking an early 14-0 lead. But when McKinney North finally got the ball, it didn't take long for them to make some magic happen. One play when they scored a touchdown, Cameron Powell with a 70-yard touchdown for McKinney North's first score of the night. At halftime, it was 21-17 Heritage. The second half, we saw McKinney North score 2 touchdowns, but Heritage answered back. They had a passing touchdown and a long field goal to go up with a 2-point lead with exactly 42 seconds left almost. And that's when Greg Ard had the play of maybe his high school career, right? 17 seconds left, down 2 points, almost no time. That's when he got the kickoff at the 45-yard line, took it 55 yards to the house, walk-off touchdown to score, win that game. McKinney North comes out on top.
Yes, Sid. It's really valuable to just have a player that coach can go up to and say, hey, I'm giving you the ball, go score, and he doesn't. He is just one of those players that if the ball is in his hands, something big is going to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. As we see here, for this box score, first downs, Panther Creek had more, and yardage, total yardage, Panther Creek had more. Wesley, what do we think about that?
I mean, we take a look at our box score here. McKinney North, 375 total yards, while Heritage really overtopped them, 435. Brooks Nelson went 9 for 12, 175 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Greek, as usual, popped off for that Heritage offense, 26 for 38, 250 yards, a touchdown, and only one interception.
Yeah, I mean, just some amazing talent at that game last week. Like we talked about, that walk-off touchdown from Greg Ard, the McKinney North quarterback. And as we talk about more amazing talent, let's go into one of our, most, not popular, most amazing games of the season that we've had at the Star this year. And that is going to be Aubrey versus Panther Creek. I mean, we haven't said enough about it. Sid, give us that game recap.
Panther Creek versus Aubrey, right? This was our game of the week, and rightfully so. We talked about it a bit before, but 41-40, Panther Creek in overtime. But this game, first half especially, was all about Aubrey, right? They went up 34-13 at the halftime, but Panther Creek with a strong second half, right? 21 unanswered, and Centel Simpson ties it with a 7-yard rushing touchdown. That game got sent over to overtime. Right, what an amazing game there all throughout. I mean, it was really great. Take a look at some quick box score numbers for you guys. Aubrey with 388 total yards. Panther Creek had 474. Brock Temple, the Aubrey quarterback, went 10 for 17 for 110 yards. Braylon Fry went 24 for 41, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
Yeah, and I mean, just a great game that they had last week. I mean, a thriller, like we said. And as we're getting closer to game time, we are going to take a look at Lone Star's keys to victory. What do you want to tell us about that, Wesley?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Lone Star's got to do a lot of stuff here. Lone Star, they got to make their safeties deeper. We know Reedy is that type of team that will always put the ball deep. And Sid, why don't you tell us the rest of that?
I think they also need to stop Reedy's rushing attack, right? Tristan Airy, Jared Walker, lots of great guys. If Lone Star wants a chance, right, versus Wakeland, that's a game we all saw, we all loved. But the reason they lost that game was because they let Lone Star run all over them. They were able to keep scoring, keep drives alive, and eventually, in the end, that game didn't end up so well for them.
Yeah, I mean, totally, I agree with you, Sid. And as we take a look at Reedy's keys to victory, Addie, what do we have for that?
For Reedy, they need to score fast and score early. They need to jump out the gate and be ready, lay it all out there. I know Lone Star, both teams actually, they sometimes get a slow start. So for sure, they need to stop Lone Star's passing attack also. I mean, Sid, what else do you have for us about Reedy?
Well, here's a quick piece of breaking news for you guys. Lone Star's running back, Davian Gross, he's a 4-star, plays wide receiver and running back. He's a big part of their team. He's potentially questionable, right? So if Lone Star is missing their star player, that might have a big impact on their game plan. Earlier this week we heard talk of potentially moving Carice Boyd over to running back. But that's a game time decision, right? Lone Star will have to try to adapt, right? Even if they don't have Davian Gross, I think they still have a good shot.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams are coming out competitive tonight as they are fighting for that #1 spot. And as we, get to our pick'ems tonight, it's going to be pretty competitive for us. I mean, kind of just all over the place. Addie, who do you have for tonight?
For tonight, I'm going to have to go to Lone Star, and I think I'm going to go with them because I think they're going to be hungry. I mean, after that Wakeland win, no one expected that, and they're really going to come out and then show why they were ranked. I mean, the Dallas Morning News had them ranked up there for top teams in the state, so I think they're going to want to prove themselves.
Well, Addie, once again, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I'll take it. I'll take the Reedy Lions in tonight's game, right? Reedy, they know they need a win, and Lone Star still reeling from that Wakeland loss. But I think that game really showed the playbook on how to beat Lone Star, right? You have to score fast, just get your offense moving, because, Lone Star's defense has struggled to stop some high-powered offenses, and I think Reedy certainly has the ability to be one of those teams.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, Sid. Lone Star has, had such a competitive season. They have so many, high talented players on their team and have just shown that they're kind of a very, competitive and explosive team on both sides of the ball. And that's why I'm going to have to pick Lone Star. Wesley, who do you have?
Yeah, so we've seen Lone Star, they jumped off to a very hot start to the beginning of the season, but their most recent games, it feels like they've been slipping a little bit, especially with the loss of Davion Gross, who really helps them with the ground game. Just the fact that Lone Star has not been able to really hold their opponents down as they used to, I'm going to have to go with Reedy tonight.
And it looks like we have a girl versus boy fight tonight. I mean, you all have to come back to halftime and see, who's winning this fight tonight and how explosive these teams are going to be. And y'all, we're going to head up to the box, and y'all are going to hear Nick Harris and Matt Wixon calling the game tonight. We'll see y'all at halftime.